transzendentalen Tätigkeiten im Predigen im Jahre 1976 mit seinem Servant Hari Shauri Prabhu aus dessen Buch A Transcendental Diary. Okay. Am 9. Juli 1976 in New York. Prabhupada arrived at the LaGuardia airport at 10 a.m. to a fantastic reception, equal in enthusiasm, if not in scale, to his Los Angeles arrival. Tamal Krishna Goswami, Tripurari Swami and Rameshwara Swami garlanded him as he came off the plane, forming a saffron escort through the departure lounge. Then 200 devotees greeted him with unbounded enthusiasm, which required the presence of a special police contingent to disperse any congestion of the airport. Hemanga held a large, elaborately decorated ceremonial umbrella over Srila Prabhupada's head. The Bhakti Rasa theatre group danced and everyone else threw flowers and chanted Hare Krishna as Prabhupada made his way to the car, pausing only to answer a few questions from reporters. It was both colorful and exciting to watch His Divine Grace stride through the airport like a person returning home after a long absence, looking confident and happy, wrapped in multicolored roses. Heavy traffic made it a long drive to the temple. Jayananda Prabhu, who had supported the temple in San Francisco in its beginning days by driving a taxi, chauffeured the brown LTD. Prabhupada was happy to see him, recalling how he was driving and chanting in San Francisco and how he had given him $5,000 donation for printing his books. He said that Jayananda was a very good boy. As we came into Manhattan, over the Triborough Bridge and down FDR Drive, Prabhupada recollected, "In New York, I feel a little homely because first I came here. I was loitering on the street here and there. From 1965 September to 67 July, continually I stayed in New York." Rameshwara quoted Tamal Krishna Maharaja's comment in this morning's class that the devotees cannot understand the good fortune of this city that Prabhupada came here. Prabhupada smiled. "Yes, when I decided I shall go to foreign countries, I never thought of going to London. I thought of coming here. Generally they go to London, but I thought, no, I shall go to New York." "Very progressive," Tamal Krishna said. Prabhupada laughed. "I do not know. It is Krishna's dictation. I could have gone. London was nearer. But I thought, no, I shall go to New York." He picked out different streets and places he used to visit as we drove past them. He said he was loitering, going to one place to another, aimlessly, and sometimes sitting by the river beneath the Brooklyn Bridge, thinking, when will I return to India? Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So maybe a little short comment on this. Actually, should we speak in English? Does anyone not speak German? We don't speak German. Okay, then we speak in English. Good. Because just recently we kind of celebrated the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada. And it's very interesting in these very final days, because here it is about Srila Prabhupada is sitting in New York, and after some struggle, or during his struggle, he thought sometimes, when will the next ship go and I can maybe go with this ship to India, back home. When Prabhupada was in 1977 in India, and already he was pretty sick. They discussed with his servants, Tamal Krishna Goswami and others, about a plan to go on the battlefield, as Srila Prabhupada is a warrior, a fighter, a soldier in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army, and he shall go on the battlefield and preach. That will give him strength. And Prabhupada agreed, yes, you're right. So although Prabhupada was really quite sick, or in a very weak condition, seemingly weak condition, they made arrangement to go to the West for a world tour. And Prabhupada said he wanted to visit his palace. He meant in Virginia, West Virginia, the farm. Don't know the name now. What is it called? Is it New Vrindavan? Yeah, New Vrindavan. Yeah. Yeah, palace. They wanted to build a palace there. It was under construction. He wanted to visit that farm and also Hawaii. He spoke of these two, and he said, one of these two I will go. So they made in the end of August, 27th or 29th of August, 1977. August means September, October, November, like 2.5 months before Prabhupada would leave this world. He started for a world tour to preach, And they went to London. And actually this was Prabhupada's last visit to Europe or the West. It was in the beginning of September 1977. And everyone who could, he went there, also from Europe. Germany, everyone went to London to see Prabhupada in that time, 1977. And when Prabhupada arrived there, he talked to the devotees. They came very nicely dressed, very nicely, prepared, and Prabhupada was so happy to see devotees. And then he, in a speech, he said, referring to this statement of Prabhupada, he thought, when can I go back to India? Then at that time he said, he even is disgusted with India. No, he does not want to return. He will not go back to India, he said then. When he was so sick and weak and he went to London, he told the devotees, he's so happy here to see the devotees, dressed so nicely, and he's so happy here. He doesn't at all want to go back in India. He is disgusted because he worked so hard and he achieved so much, and still the Indian government says the Western devotees, they are CIA. This was like that was how they appreciated his achievements, and he was disgusted with it. He wants to go back there. But rather he preferred to come into the association of devotees. India, so we see Prabhupada is a complete transcendental personality. It's not like Indian, American, or whatever, but wherever there is bhakti, he said, because they do not have bhakti, there he felt happy, and he liked it there. And so he appreciated it in the West a lot more, because in the West there were the devotees and they had bhakti. So wherever there is that, there Prabhupada, he likes it to be there. So it's very encouraging also for us to hear, India or not India, it's not really the thing. The thing is there bhakti? Is there devotion to Krishna? Real, authentic devotion to Krishna. So, we also would like today to speak a little bit about this topic, maybe, if Krishna likes, let's see, by opening the Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter, verse number 19. And today we have a very, 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 very suitable verse for this holy place here, Shri Pranat Lakshmi Narasimhadev, and the pastime of fighting with Hiranyakashipu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, the diversions of faith, verse number 19. Muta grahenatmano yat pidaya kriyate tapaha parasyot sadhanartham va tat tamasam udahritam mudha grahenatmano yat pidaya kriyate tapaha parasyot sadhanartham va tattamasam udahritam mudha grahenatmano yat pidaya kriyate tapaha parasyot sadhanartham va tattamasam udahritam. Mudha, foolish, grahena, with endeavor, atmanaha, of one's own self, yat, which, pidaya, by torture, kriyate, is performed, tapaha, penance, parasya, to others, utsadana artham, for the sake of causing annihilation, va, or, tat, that, tamasam, in the mode of darkness, udahritam, is said to be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Easy Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Penance performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. There are instances of foolish penance undertaken by demons like Hiranyakashipu, who performed austere penances to become immortal and kill the demigods. He prayed to Brahma for such things, but ultimately he was killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To undergo penances for something which is impossible is certainly in the mode of ignorance. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakrurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Yena Putale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadadi Svapadandikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mudha Grahinatmano Yat Pidaya Kriyate Tapaha Parasyot sadhanartham va tattamasam udahritam. Penance performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Blessings of all the Vaishnavas. I can talk about Bhagavad Gita. This chapter is called the Divisions of Faith, and slowly but surely we are entering into the details of the three modes of material nature, which was introduced in previous chapters by Srila Prabhupada. So we see that a lot of the discussions is about, as Krishna also himself says, the three modes of material nature. Most parts of the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature. Be transcendental to them. Transcend it. and rise to the spiritual platform. Krishna is advising and guiding actually us. And here he talks about different types of penances, different types of charity we hear, different types of knowledge will also come, and so on, according to the three modes of material nature. So, very powerful seemed what Hiranyakashipu did, but still the lowest mode of the three, it was categorized in the mode of ignorance. Why? Because his motivation was, what is it characterized here? What was his motivation? Of what type? Or what character was it? What he wanted to achieve? Yes?
He wants to become immortal and kill the demigods.
Yeah. And what is this? Yeah? Because it is impossible. Exactly. He said, the last sentence says, interesting, to undergo penances for something which is impossible is certainly in the mode of goodness. So it's impossible to become immortal in the material world, in one body, which for sure is destined to be destroyed, because that's the nature that all forms that the material nature brings up, they are not at all eternal, they are temporary. And so Hiranyakashipu's idea to become immortal is against the strict or fixed rule of the material world, material nature. So we heard also that we discussed previously that still following such ideas is not at all beneficial for our advancement in spiritual life. When we speak about bhakti, if you are attached to some rules or some guidelines given in the Vedas, which are actually of a lower platform or lower level than you actually are, that is not at all beneficial and that is not recommended. Do you remember in what connection we discussed this? Yes? Yes? Yes, exactly. Very good, thank you. The word is given niyamagraha. Niyamagraha is described by Rupa Goswami as in two ways: that you follow rules and regulations, like Hiranyakashipu, he followed certain rules for sure, very strictly. But you to follow rules and regulations on one side, just because you are attached to these rules and regulations, and although you are above about it, but still you follow it, that is not beneficial for Krishna consciousness. And if you do not at all follow the rules and regulations, of course, if you just neglect them, that is also Shadbhir Bhaktir Vinashyati. It's unbeneficial for our advancement in Krishna consciousness. So here we have an extreme example for someone who follows rules, which is not at all beneficial. It's completely in ignorance. It's demoniac. To try to achieve something like Hiranyakashipu wanted to achieve, and do everything for it, even at the cost of the suffering. Actually, it is mentioned suffering and pain of the super soul. And even if you by force do such extreme penances, you torture the super soul in the heart. It is explained like that. So that is very clearly demoniac, of course, because a devotee wants just the opposite. He is listening to the Supersoul, guided by the Supersoul, following the instructions of the Supersoul, and not by force doing something against the will or even against the pleasure or the well-being, so to say, of the Supersoul. So this is concretely demoniac, and it is described here as being in the mode of ignorance, in the mode of darkness. So Hiranyakashipu is the best example for this, but we have many other examples. If we are reading through the scriptures, in the Vedic scriptures, many examples of demons who performed such kind of penances. Yeah, another example is the demon who is very often given as an example for this, who worshipped Lord Shiva and wanted to have the blessing that whoever he touches on the head, his head will explode into many pieces. And when he finally got the blessing, even he wanted to try it at Shiva himself, if it is working or not. So Shiva, he ran for help to Lord Vishnu, please help. Yeah, and Lord Vishnu helped and told him afterwards, be careful about what kind of blessings you give. And the same thing we see here in this pastime also, just the very same thing. You know, we have Shiva and we have here Brahma. Hiranyakashipu worshipped Brahma, and after many years, centuries, whatever, of extreme penances, the demon Hiranyakashipu forced Brahma, kind of forced him to come and give him blessings. And we know the story that Narasimhadev killed him anyway, but after that he did the same as in a pastime of Lord Shiva. He told Brahma, from now on, be a little bit careful what kind of blessings you give. You don't give such blessings again, you know. So we see that Shiva in this way is kind of instructing Brahma, and Shiva is also kind of instructing Lord Shiva. That means clearly Lord Shiva, Brahma and Vishnu, they are not at all on the same platform. It is Vishnu who is completely transcendental, and Shiva and Brahma are, as it is stated, under the modes of material nature. Also Lord Shiva is under the mode of material nature, because he is connected with the mode of ignorance to some degree. However, so the only shelter is Lord Vishnu. And Hiranyakashipu did something quite spectacular. You know, he performed his pastimes to such an extreme level that only his bones were left. You know, only the skeleton, you know, was there, but still the life was there. So, and also we started a little bit talking about Srila Prabhupada and his final days. When Srila Prabhupada was so weak, you know, it was really like that. He said personally, it's only skin and bones. He was lying in a bed and he was not eating for months. You know, from like February 1977 until like maybe September, kind of August, September. So that means like March, April, June, July. So around like 5-6 months, something like that. Prabhupada did not eat. He refused eating, only like drinking, but no eating. So it became really like skin and bones. And then he also gave the example to his servants, Tamal Krishna Goswami Hiranyakashipu. And he told them it is possible that the life only remains in the bones. And there is a science how this can be achieved. So it's possible. So he gave this example as in that phase of his personal life. And so gradually they tried everything in this period of sickness of Srila Prabhupada to not give up the fight. If you read this period of Srila Prabhupada's life, there is not at all the mood of, as we now afterward see it, Srila Prabhupada was slowly departing from this world. But at that time, devotees were not all talking like that to Prabhupada or under each other. They tried everything which is somehow possible so that Prabhupada become healthy again. They thought it's like just a temporary pastime of Srila Prabhupada. And also, astrologers came, pretty famous astrologers, and they made astrology of the horoscope of Srila Prabhupada, and they said, well, the astrology, like just right now, the planets are in such a position, it's really not a good period for Prabhupada. And this one, the first one who is quoted in this diary of Tamal Krishna Goswami of Srila Prabhupada's final days was one who said that after Prabhupada went through this intense, difficult period, that will become better, and he will stay here and live up until 1984, he said. And Srila Prabhupada is not at all an ordinary person, he's kind of an avatar, also he said. He's not at all impressed by any mortal being, he said. Prabhupada is not afraid of any mortal being, therefore he's called Abhay, fearless. So there were astrologers, there were doctors, but there were Vedic doctors, Ayurvedic doctors, several, which Prabhupada allowed to come, take the pulse, take also blood sometimes, watch the urine, especially that was very often done, has been done very often. And very rarely, if it just in extreme emergency case, Prabhupada would allow Western doctors, like Western medicine, allopathic medicine, or hospital even, to treat him. Very rare. Usually he said he didn't take the medicine. They gave him, pills and everything. Yes, okay, but he didn't take. Even if it was very serious, he didn't take. He was referring to Krishna. We depend on Krishna. And also hospital. He was always saying, whatever happens, don't put me into the hospital. Even if I become unconscious, even if it becomes really serious, don't bring me to the hospital. And he always also asked his disciples, don't do it. Will you? He was like, promise me, don't do it. And they said, of course, we won't do it. Don't be afraid. We don't bring you to the hospital. So he was really like a very, as he said himself, a very temperamental person. He had a very special temperament, Prabhupada. So he was against these things, but we started talking about Srila Prabhupada coming to the West. In this enthusiasm to preach in the West and go to a world tour, then at that times in London there came severe problems and troubles. Prabhupada had big difficulty. It was not possible anything anymore for him to pass urine. So it became day by day a bigger problem. And they tried several things, but at a certain point Prabhupada also said, emergency. That's now, do something, but something must be, give me relief from this. So he could not pass urine anymore. So they went into the hospital in London, and the doctor, he was aware of the problem, and they decided the only thing what to do is an operation. So that was a real emergency, and that is what Prabhupada agreed. He said, whatever, but give relief. Relieve me from. So they made an emergency operation in London at the time. And we cannot imagine nowadays, and also nowadays it would not at all be possible, because it's so different nowadays than 50 years ago. But Tamal Krishna Goswami, he's writing, under no circumstances he would have allowed to be the doctors alone with Prabhupada. under no circumstances he would have allowed. I mean, nowadays, if you think like that, I mean, there must be a big Krishna, otherwise you can just say good luck, you know. You go to our hospital and say, this is my spiritual master, you have to make a surgery, but I come with you into the operation room, you know. They will tell you, you can be Jesus, you know, whatever. I mean, yeah, so, excuse me, then no way, you know, not at all. But at that time, we see the determination of Tamal Krishna was also there, you know. He would not leave Prabhupada alone, especially not in that circumstance. He was also there in the operation room, and he describes what has been done by Prabhupada. And it was a really emergency operation, but in the end, it worked, and Prabhupada could again pass urine, and he became better in that regard. But when they left the hospital, then also Prabhupada saw his condition didn't get better at all. It became worse and worse, and then he also agreed under such circumstances. They were discussing next go to New York. From London they wanted to go to New York, as we heard. Prabhupada says New York. But then he said also, no, it's too much. He wants to go back to India. So that was Prabhupada's last visit in the West. It was in the beginning of September. Just 2 weeks he was in Bhaktivedanta Manor in London. I also remember my spiritual master, Guru Maharaj, remembers that times. If I remember correctly, he also went there. Many German devotees went there. Also Sankirtan devotees went there. You know, everyone went there, had darshan of Prabhupada in this extreme condition. And then in the middle of September, they decided Prabhupada wants to go back to India. If he dies, he wants to die in India. He wants to die in Vrindavan. So they made a plan how to go back to India. Flights to Bombay. Prabhupada wanted to go to Bombay because in Bombay the building of the temple is under construction. And Prabhupada was fighting the previous time so intensely for this temple. It was a really well-known fight amongst devotees, what Prabhupada had for the temple in Bombay. Prabhupada promised the deities, I give you this place here. I invited you, you're already here, I promised to you. And at that time, the owners of the land made really problems, when already the deities were there. And it was really a demoniac attack at the temple, you know. Devotees were treated very violently, it was really heavy stuff, but Prabhupada fought, and the devotees they fought a fight, and in the end they won. And so in the last days of Prabhupada, there was the discussion, the question, when will the temple be opened? And it was certain Prabhupada should be there. Temple opening of Bombay temple, Prabhupada must be there. How is it possible? He promised the deities, you know, this is your home, I did it for you, so the Prabhupada must be there. So they discussed, so he wanted to go to Bombay, to be there at the temple opening. So on September 6th, September 15th, they booked a flight, and Prabhupada wanted to go as soon as possible. And it was September 12th or 11th, and on 15th they had the flight. And on the flights on the 16th, just 1 day later, were half the price, but they all booked on 15th. Prabhupada in all his sermons, direct to Bombay. And then Prabhupada said on the 12th, is there an earlier flight? Then like in 3 days. And Tamal Krishna says, tomorrow there's a flight. So okay, Prabhupada said, I want to go as soon as possible, immediately. You know, in the night they packed everything, did everything. So next day, September 13th, they were in the manor, and the first message came, the flight is delayed. So that was just quite kind of okay, because they had to do a lot of things anyway, and they were still in the temple. But then they came to the airport with Prabhupada in a wheelchair. Prabhupada in a very sick and weak condition, with his servants, you can imagine, in a wheelchair, already like bones and skin. You know, and then the next flight delayed, you know. And they were at the airport with Prabhupada with hundreds, I don't know how many people, you know, flight is delayed, you know, it's like a catastrophe, you know, they didn't know what to do. How can they just be there with Prabhupada in such a condition and wait until the flight is coming? And then one lady from the airport came, and they brought them into a back room, which is for emergency cases, and that they could wait. And then they brought Prabhupada with an elevator into the airplane, and they had a very good flight. Ramakrishna says, actually Prabhupada should always fly like that. It was first class, air conditioning, a lot of space, and they had a very smooth flight. So they arrived then in Bombay, and in Bombay, Prabhupada's final days in India approached more and more. He then later went to Vrindavan, and even at his last days, he said, there must be change, something has to go on. I want to go on parikram. Prabhupada was really unhealthy, and he wants to go on parikram. That it was a parikram, oh Prabhupada, this Hare Krishna, So it's a very interesting pastime, Srila Prabhupada's passing from this earth. So I can recommend to you to read this book, Pantama Krishna Goswami, Prabhupada's Final Days, Diary of Prabhupada's Final Days. It's very nice. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Prabhupada Lakshmana Singh Dev Bhagavan ki jai. Nitha Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Prabhupada's Final Days.